Milo's in my brain, dude. You know, Milo put together such a good video. Can we go watch Milo's video? I resonated so well with Milo's video. Milo said it so well right here. Problems with the marathon gameplay reveal, honest criticism, and constructive feedback. I want to emphasize this right here. The constructive part. Milo's is incredibly constructive.
This is going to be quite a long video explaining my brutally honest thoughts about the marathon gameplay reveal today. There's quite a lot of stuff that I'm actually not super excited about. And it's not so much that I'm like negative about it per se, but more that I'm just neutral. And for me, neutral is lower than where I was hoping to be on the scale of negative to positive. Do you know what I mean? Like, I was hoping that my excitement now would be like a 9 out of 10, but there's quite a few categories where I'm like, oh, that was a 6. Oh, that was a 5. Oh, that was a 7. And so I want to talk about those things and just explore that a little bit. Because there is some stuff that is like a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10 for me. But then there are these other weird elements that I feel like Bungie maybe need to speak to better with marketing, perhaps. And that will help resolve some of those hesitations in my head and perhaps in yours as well. And so if we can consider this video constructive criticism and feedback for the team to help inform them as to where people's heads are at with regards to the reveal, then I think this video will be worthwhile, right? So that is going to be my goal here. Let's break it down, starting with the ARG and then move all the way through the gameplay, the story, the aesthetic, the secrets, the interviews after the stream today, just everything. We're going to talk about it all. Let's start with the ARG. The best gaming ARG I've ever seen. And I've seen a lot of them because I've been a COD Zombies fan for a long time and they've done ARGs pretty frequently. Yeah, this just genuinely was the best one I've ever participated in for a couple of reasons. And this isn't going to be an ARG focused video, so I'll save that for a separate vid. But just briefly, the community interaction element, I've never seen another company pull it off as well as Bungie did with this ARG. It was unbelievable. The aesthetic and tone of it all, wonderful, like absolutely exquisite, so good, so rich. The amount of time that it lasted, the way that it was playful, but then also had so much depth to it, spectacular. And the fact that it then led directly into the reveal stream today was a 10 out of 10. Chef's kiss. I couldn't have asked for anything better from that ARG. I am desperate to see Bungie do more of this in the future. I am desperate for it. So that 10 out of 10. That brings us to the start of the reveal stream. And this is where some of my concerns, I guess, began. So I'm going to talk throughout this video about several things I didn't like during the reveal stream. And some of those things ended up getting resolved later. But I'm still going to mention my initial dislike of them because I think it's important for Bungie to understand that the way they ordered certain things and delivered certain things meant that they created dissatisfaction in areas that it could have been completely avoided. And the best example of that I can give is the fact that the reveal stream had so much talking about a game we've not seen yet, right? So obviously they showed us gameplay. Obviously we got those teasers. Obviously we got creator gameplay as well, right? But there was still a really large amount of just sort of talking about this game that we've only been able to talk about for 2 years now. And I think it really hurt their momentum when we'd gone from this absolutely incredible build-up from the ARG.
What Milo's saying is there was a lot of just bullshit on the stage that he felt. No offense, Milo. I'm not trying to throw you under the bus. But there's a way in which you deliver information that's concise but extremely informative. And I wouldn't say it's bullshit that was being said on the stage. It was just like, I think people were just looking for more depth. There was a lot of just onboarding and introing.
And then even 5 minutes before the stream began, when Andy Salisbury started doing like a very brief pre-show with a couple of the devs that were in the building at the time, I started to think, hold on.
It was a typical Bungie VOD? No, dude, VODs are normally shot. They're not live. The only time Bungie does like the live stream stuff or for things like episodes and seasons. And keep in mind, when they do the episodes and seasons like that, the people they're cycling in and out, they're constantly, notice it's never the same developer that sits the entire time. They're like, they'll cycle 3 people in, cycle them out, because it's people that are across many, many different departments. Hey, we've got sandbox specialists. Hey, we've got world building. Hey, Hey, we've got art design. Hey, we've got narrative. And you have these people step in and they talk in great depth about the episode or about the season or expansion because there's a lot of depth to talk about. My concern is that there's not that much depth in Marathon. Again, it's an extraction shooter. I mean, the story, as Skill have even brought up here recently, the framework is built for the story, but there is no story yet, you know? And why should it have a story, right? It's an extraction shooter. It's PvPvE. You go in, you kill people, and you take some shit, and you leave. You get out, or you die.
Are they going to treat this sort of like they treated, and I've not seen a lot of Bungie streams, but a recent one I saw was the Act 3 episode Heresy, like, reveal stream, basically, where they kind of just chatted with the devs, and they were personal, and it was very much a case of like, okay, this is Sean, and Sean makes sure the game...
Apex does a lot of character story, even though it's a BR. I would love it if they... And here's the thing. Marathon's background and lore is just so rich. You got to. I think you're going to piss off your hardcore Marathon, like your people that played in the 90s. You're going to piss them off if you don't give them in. Like, if you expect them to be completely okay with like, hey, good job, you just unlocked a Grimoire card, brother, good luck.
Doesn't break and like stuff like that. And it felt like that was building human relationship between myself and Sean, but it wasn't building my relationship with the game, really. And I think that there's a huge place for the dev relationships, and I encourage it massively, and I think that humanizing your studio as well is so essential, because game studios get so much disgusting hate from the general public, and to help put a human face to that and sort of nip that in the bud a little bit, I think is so valuable. Believe me, I'm not just saying like, never talk to a dev.
Apex story wasn't there at launch, but Destiny's story wasn't even there at launch. Sure, and that's what I'm saying. Like, if we're going down that same path of, here's the thing. You've got games that already are very much embedded with communities that are very much embedded. And you're trying to break into this market. And so if you don't come out swinging, fucking swinging, dude, you know what I mean? You're not going to be able to break any of those people away. So that, you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, could you go through the step-by-step process of putting out a vanilla version of the game, it not being that good, and then over the year bringing it up to that level, and then maybe doing something a year after launch that really breaks it out? Do you have the luxury that you had with Destiny, where you essentially had no one really to compete against except maybe Warframe, but Warframe's not even first-person shooter? Destiny had a lot of luxuries. But one of the biggest luxuries is there was really nothing competing against it. So we had time. Bungie had time to make those fixes.
Ever again. I'm just saying, when that started, I was like, okay, I feel like what we're going to see here is we're going to see an hour-long stream where in the talking sections, they're going to feel like they need everyone on the couch to speak, and they're going to want to give everyone valid time. And it's going to be about the people a little bit, instead of being 1,000,000% only about the game, right? Like it's going to be 5% about the people, 95% about the game. And that 5% about the people actually is going to slow the momentum down a lot. So that was something that just sort of off the rip, I was like, I'm not sure I think that this method of distribution is the best. I think that less talking...
Milo's giving great advice right here, guys.
And this kind of continued in when we saw our first gameplay. So we see the first gameplay. We see that sort of gameplay reveal, right? That moment. And I'm going to be straight up. My first impressions from the first 10, 15 seconds were kind of negative. And I think that there's a good reason for this. I think one is that I'm so used to playing games that have fairly similar art styles, right? That going over to this game now, where the art style is completely different, I feel like it was sort of tripping invisible tripwires in my head, saying, oh, that surface is glossy. That shouldn't be glossy. That makes it look unfinished. That makes it look like it's lacking polish. That makes it look like it's something that's going to get patched. Do you know what I mean? And obviously that's not the case. Obviously they've just got a really stylized art style. And I love that. I really do. Like, I want to be absolutely clear. I am effervescent about the art style. I think it's beautiful. I think it's gorgeous. And I think it also is going to serve the gameplay really well, because it's going to help reduce clutter and all these sorts of things. But at the same time, at least for the first 10 seconds, my brain was like, whoa, are we going over minimalist here? Like, is this too simple? Like, whoa. And I saw these comments a lot, actually, with the game's UI.
Dude, y'all, there was like comments in ours. You guys are dropping comments like, did Roblox Destiny? What happened here? Why does it look like this?
Overall, where people were like, why does the UI look like that? Like, it's extremely clean, which is good, but at the same time, it's like, is it too clean? Like, does this little box that's popped up need like a drop shadow or something for my brain to just feel like...
He's wrong about that. Aztecross explained they moved away from high fidelity graphics, sci-fi realism into graphic simplicity. I think Aztecross is incredibly talented. And I also feel like I love the angle that he's taken here with the runners. And, you know, it seems like there is a style here that they are choosing, I guess intentionally for, you know, they talked about like, as Milo mentioned, like to clean up the map and make it easy to discern enemies and stuff like that. But I will say from the first, like Milo's saying, from the first 15, 20, 30 seconds of the gameplay being revealed, it was like, whoa, the fuck am I looking at? You know what I'm coming from?
So that took a little bit of getting used to, but that's not something that I would want them to change by any means. But also initially, we were introduced to the gameplay by someone controlling the game sort of like a COD trailer. And what I mean by that is there's kind of been a meme in the COD community for the last like 2 decades, which is that in all the COD trailers, you'll always see 3 resurfacing factors that always look really awkward, right? Number 1, it's people that don't ADS properly. Like, the way they ADS is just like wrong. It's just not how normal people play video games. Number 2, they crouch loads. Like, they'll walk around in crouch and you're like, why are you doing that? And number 3 is they very rarely sprint. And it leads to this combination of this person that is basically like holding their gun in the world, and it's almost like they're terrified to do anything. And they're just in crouch like, like they look helpless, right? And it's been a meme for a while because COD does that, I think, because their actual audience, like the actual normie COD player, plays the game like that. And all the people that play with like fast twitch zooming around and like crazy movement and stuff, those people are a little bit more of a minority compared to the generic player, right? So that's been a thing in COD for a very long time. And it's not always the case, right? COD has Omni movement. They show the Omni movement off, cool. But it's been a meme for a long time. And I got a little bit of that feel with...
It wasn't real gameplay, the first one. It was the devs filming gameplay. That was from the perspective of first-person perspective. Whatever the case, like actors... Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, guess what? We have the same thing inside of Destiny. There's a way in which to produce gameplay that looks compelling and aspirational and skillful, and still bring it in line that even as Milo brought it up, even your normie players will enjoy to watch. You know, it doesn't have to be bot behavior. You know what I mean? One of the gameplay clips that we saw was literally a guy coming up. He shoots a dude in Marathon, and then he walks up behind this other guy. And like, look, like he literally walks up to him. That guy is standing completely still, aiming down, shooting. His friend just got killed behind him. And then the guy who just killed his friend booped him off the side of the building. And that guy he didn't turn. He didn't strafe. He wasn't in, you know where I'm coming from? Whatever. It's whatever. Watch Destiny 1 gameplay reveal. I'm going to be honest, guys. I went back and watched Destiny 1 alpha footage because I was like, we even pulled it up here on stream. It was like, guys, we're giving Marathon, you know, we're giving it too much. Let's go look at Destiny 1 alpha gameplay. Can I just say this? Destiny 1 alpha gameplay actually still holds up. I mean, it was a sexy game even then, guys. I'm just being for real with y'all. I'm just being real. It still fucking held up and still looks good. Now, granted, maybe it's just because the art style is just more agreeable to me.
Looked a bit kind of awkward. Some of it looked a little bit simple. Some of the way the clips were working out, I was like, you could have got a better clip than this. Like, at one point they're like throwing a grenade. First of all, the grenade, I mean, it's a pre-alpha, right? So like, fair enough, but like the grenade feels like it throws weirdly, like that animation, something felt wrong about that. And that just, again, to my subconscious was like, it's pushing buttons that shouldn't be being pushed right now. But then also just the way the clips went down, I wasn't ever really looking at it being like, wow, that was an outplay. I was looking at it being like, wow, was that really the best clip that they could get? Kind of thing. Like, they've had so long to create this trailer and it looks like that. And again, I'm not just trying to sort of blindly hate here on the game. I'm just saying that what I think that's meant by selecting the clips that they selected is that people have seen that and they aren't really seeing the thrill of the game that Bungie is saying and the creators are saying is there. So we'll come back to that in a second, but just to sort of finish off that point, that means overall, my first couple of minutes of impressions were like, I think this looks good, but I don't think this looks spectacular. I just think it looks good. And in a market which is harder to release a AAA video game in than maybe ever before, and more expensive to release a video game in than ever before, is just good, especially from Bungie, gonna be good enough? I don't know, right? So that was my at least initial vibe check. And it was weird because in contrast to that, like the storytelling they've done so far, the little snippets of story stuff that we've got seems extremely enticing, like very much so. The ARG especially was really rich. And so from a story perspective, I'm like, okay, I look like I've got a lot to gorge myself on here. Like this does look really strong. This does look like 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 story sort of potential, especially that short that they showed at the end. Oh my God, amazing. But the core gameplay itself.
Let me just say this, the shorts, that honestly saved the whole reveal for me. I'm not saying that I was very much like, but the cinematic was crazy. But here's the thing. That's just a cinematic. That's just a cinematic. The cinematic was fire. Here's the thing. If you're good at making cinematics, go fucking make movies. You know what I'm coming from? This is video games. It was a great cinematic though, but it was the highlight. And look, that shouldn't be the case with it. You know what I mean? Like it should be, the gameplay should have been the highlight.
Is maybe a bit more important than the story. And that was just sort of in kind of it's fine territory. And so I think what that means is that for all the folks watching at home, I keep seeing this sentiment on Twitter and in comment sections, etc., being like, I think I just need to try it for myself, right? I think I need to try it for myself to evaluate. And I think if you release like what is intended to be like a bombastic, exciting trailer for a game, and people's first thoughts are, I think I'd need to try it for myself. I don't think your trailers succeeded, you know? I don't think you've made them excited. I think you've actually kind of confused people because they're not immediately going, I see why this is sick, right? So to lean into that point a bit further, what is the hook of Marathon? What is it? Is it just that it's an extraction shooter? Okay, we've got a ton of those. Is it that it's an extraction shooter set in space? Okay. Is that enough on its own? I don't think it is. I feel like there needs to be a sort of central idea, a system of some kind, or some kind of just gameplay feature, which is the sort of thing that if you interacted with it in game and you thought it was incredible, you'd tell your mate about it in school the next day, or your coworker at work, you'd be like, dude, there's this new game and like you can do this thing and it's just like so insane. What is that?
How many times have y'all had that? I mean, I have had that conversation. I actually got into Destiny because of a conversation with a friend who was telling me about the beta. I was playing Final Fantasy 14. I was dicking around. My friend jumped back in party chat and was like, dude, I just played the beta. And he was like just going on and on and on about everything that he just played. And I was like, fine, I guess I'll buy it.
In Marathon, because I can't figure it out. And I've watched all of the teasers and stuff, and I've watched all the creator gameplay that I can, and I'm seeing an extraction shooter, and I'm seeing maybe a good extraction shooter, but I'm not seeing special. I'm not seeing like Bungie magic, and I don't know why that's the case. Like, okay, you can load in.
Let me just say this too. There is no magic. I'm not saying there was a common statement being said when it came to Bethesda. Bethesda magic. Oh, don't worry. Starfield's going to be great because of the Bethesda magic. No, you start sniffing your own bullshit, you're about to get humbled. I'm telling you. No. I'm fucking telling you. And BioWare too. Listen, you start sniffing your own shit, thinking that somehow the magic is going to save this. It's a new project, baby. It's a new motherfucking game, new project, new day. It's another day, and it's time to prove oneself. Magic ain't gonna save it.
And then you can take out other teams, and you can exfil with loot, and you can load back in. But like, we're treading water here, no? So maybe this is fine, right? Maybe it's not a problem that it's quite tame in this regard, and it's just going to be marketed in such a way, and it fills a gap in the industry in such a way that it will actually just perform great, right? Alternatively, maybe there's a load of stuff under the surface that is Bungie magic that we're not being exposed to right now, that we're not getting a chance to see because, like I said, we're sort of not seeing the special stuff. We're not seeing the electric moments in the teaser.
Yep.
We're kind of just seeing like, that happened. Okay. And I think this dovetails with some of the criticism I'm seeing online right now about the game's rumored price point. So we know it's not going to be a free game. We know that. That's confirmed. We know it's going to cost some amount of money. We don't know from Bungie themselves whether it's going to cost any specific price, right? We don't know the price they have in mind. But we have had people allege it's going to be $40. That is the alleged figure. And there's naturally skepticism about this because not being free to play means that there'll be a much bigger barrier to entry for people to actually give it a go. At the same time, not being free to play means you get less hackers. That's just an objective fact. Not being free to play also, so long as they can actually sell the copies of the game, means that they'll hopefully have a little less reliance on microtransactions and stuff like that because there's an upfront cost where they don't have zero revenue coming in from a player to begin with. Instead, they start at 40 and they go from there, right? Or whatever sale price they buy it at. And that's going to mean that it's going to be more likely that the game can have a future, again, assuming they are able to sell the copies of the game, because they'll be able to be profitable, right? And Bungie's a studio I want to succeed, so I would like the game to be profitable. That would be great, right?
I'm kind of whatever about it. I will say this, that the expectations are raised when you charge money. That's natural. You just gotta have the content that warrants the price tag, you know, and Bungie needs to assess that, you know, whether that's $30 or $40. I definitely don't think $60. I'm just saying, not if you're gonna have heavy monetization in it as well. You know what I'm saying? Personally, I think if you're gonna heavily monetize and have an in-game store, dude, just make it free to play. You know, but then at the same time, I don't like cheaters either. So, it's such a tough thing, man. I don't know, make it free to play except for in ranked play. Maybe you got to pay. Maybe that's where you got to buy the base game.
40's got pros in that regard, but yeah, it certainly has cons in terms of getting people actually to buy it. And I don't know in the extraction shooter space if, again, a tame extraction shooter is going to be worth $40. I think a tame one might be worth free to playing and then buying some skins on. But for the 40, I think there needs to be more of a hook there, and I'm just not feeling it right now. Now, this might all sound quite negative, right? But there is still a huge amount that I do want to be really positive about. The sound design, for example, throughout all of the trailers, teasers, gameplay, all of it, immaculate. Genuinely, my only fault, and this is such a nitpick, my only fault, I would say, is I think I might like hit registration and hit marker indicators and sound to be tweaked a little bit. I think there's room for that to be better right now, just from what I've seen so far. But other than that, I think that the sound is genuinely perfect. It sounded so amazing. I love what they're doing with the soundtrack, all the songs that they've composed for it. I've had Code Racers on loop basically for 2 weeks now. It's been so unbelievably awesome to fall in love with a video game soundtrack like this before the game is even out. And I think Bungie really deserves some credit for that. So the sound design so far sounds spectacular. And I also really liked the Twitch category incentives that they did during the reveal stream. Specifically, the little cat badge was really cool. That's a really great way to
That's why
big
he's
up
wearing
your whole
cat ears. Everybody
community.
keeps
I know
asking
Bungie's
him.
experts at this with Destiny, so I think they did a
They're
really
just
good
not
job
green.
there. The fact that they raided Scarrow after the stream, really cool. And the fact that you could get the in-game Destiny banner or emblem just for watching for 15 minutes, also awesome. I think that they cooked there, and that's something that I really hope that they continue to do in the future. Now, with extraction shooters, one of the biggest questions that you're going to ask is about anti-cheat, right? And this is another one where we got so much talking during the reveal stream, but it again felt like it was talking a little bit about the devs themselves, and I think that hurt the stream because we didn't need, like, who's your favorite runner to play as. Like, that, genuinely, in my opinion...
That's a fair point. Milo's not hating, by the way. Some people are going to think he's just being rude right now, but that's a fair point.
...is a total waste of time, that question.
GGG doesn't stop to tell you which character is their favorite. You know what I'm saying?
And I say that with no malice. I hope that doesn't come across the wrong way. But I think it's a waste of time because you're telling us about a game we haven't played yet, right? What we need to know is stuff like, is it going to be flooded with hackers, right? Presumably the answer...
I mean, really what it should have been is just like a rollout, like in GGG style of like, here's your character, here's their abilities, here's their kits, here's each one of them, here's these maps. And it needed to be information overload. That's how you get people to shut the fuck up. You're always gonna have people say negative things. Guess what? You know how you get them to shut the fuck up? Information overload. They walk away from the stream going, God damn, what did I just see? What the hell?
That is no from Bungie's perspective. And so what we then need to know is, how are you going to make that happen, right? We need to know what your anti-cheat is going to be. We need to know that you're taking it seriously. We need to know that you've got...
There's too much foreplay, too much playing around the tip. All right, come on, Bungie, get in there.
These measures in place. And to not focus on that as a key component of the reveal of an extraction shooter in 2025, when extraction shooters to date have lived and died by how good their anti-cheat is, feels like going in the wrong direction for their initial comms sort of outing, in my opinion. And it just so happens that I got a chance to interview a Bungie dev after the stream, and I asked him, what's the deal with anti-cheat? And basically they don't have kernel level anti-cheat, and they do have a load of new technology inside their engine, which is going to mean that because stuff's happening server-side, they have like a server-side truth checker. That should mean that, like, if someone's got walls or something, that should just sort of be impossible. But, like, it was explained in a way that was over voice comms for, like, 60 seconds in a 20-minute interview. If they'd spent 3 minutes on that during the stream, people might be like, yo, they're tackling anti-cheat head on. They're going to make a really big deal of it.
That
Bungie,
is such a
right?
good point.
Like, they're telling us what we really need to know here.
Right.
So I think there was room for things like that to improve as well. And I also think that knowing who your target audience is something that generally was a little wonky in some parts of the stream. So we had this ARG leading up to this, and just candidly, the ARG audience was like at least 50+%, probably much higher, the Destiny audience. Like, I was an outlier. I was an exception, being like the zombies guy that was here.
Milo, you're one of us.
All the other zombies guys weren't paying attention to this, right? But I was the exception. Basically, everyone else was in Destiny. And there were like some other folks, I think there were probably some Tarkov folks and stuff in there as well, maybe. But generally, from what I saw at least, the large majority...
Look, I want my marathon community to know
that you are nothing without us. You are nothing without us. And if you think your community is going to overtake our community over my dead body...
The focus was in Destiny. And like, weirdly, I don't know if this is a game that Destiny players are going to really vibe with to a great degree. And I don't really know if Bungie thinks that it's going to be something that Destiny players like to a great degree either. Like, at the event that they did where creators were capturing the game, I think Scarrow said there were 3 Destiny creators there, and basically everyone else was like Tarkov or press. That was my understanding from what he said. So they clearly know that folks that play Tarkov and other extraction shooters are going to be a big, important audience here. But do you feel like the reveal stream really spoke to Destiny players? Not massively. Tarkov players? Not massively, I don't think. COD Zombies players like me? Not at all. So, like, it's sort of like, who is this for? And I think the lack of hook in the game that I'm seeing is then being visualized in the lack of direction for the stream in that way, because it's like, okay, if it had a hook, it might be easier to describe who it is for, and it's because the hook is not there that it's a little harder to define that.
Please drop some
and
love
so you
right
end
now.
up with a little bit more of a broad brush nebulous thing, but that means that when you're broad brush
ARG was confusing as fuck. That's the skill gap we were talking about.
nebulous, you miss out on
Don't
some
worry.
of the questions that...
Don't worry, you'll find a Destiny player to carry you.
Some of the hardcore Tarkov folks would...
Or Milo carried many of us, yeah.
really want to know, right? Stuff that would be almost basic questions for them. And to be clear, I'm not a Tarkov player. I'm going to give it a go in the next couple of weeks probably, so I will be soon. But I have never played the game before, and so I was talking to my chat trying to get questions to ask this Bungie dev, and things were coming up like can you scav? And if you're scavving, do you spawn in late or do you spawn in sync with the other teammates? And is there a black market that's like a player-controlled economy? And are there secure loot caches? And will there be trading in the game? And are there going to be seasonal resets? Like, is it going to wipe every season? And do you have like a...
Milo's essentially saying, and we did find out a lot of this information, but he's saying that this should have been delivered in the reveal, not the post interviews. And it could have been delivered in a way that you got this big stage, you got everyone watching, all eyes, and this could have been an information overload day.
A hideout situation and like stuff like this. And I think that this is something that a lot of Tarkov folks probably want answers to, but very little of that was covered during the reveal stream. Again, and I'm not saying they have to sit there during the reveal being like, here are 5 ways we're like Tarkov, right? But what would have been good is to give Tarkov players something to be really thrilled about. But instead it was sort of a little bit more like, I like moments where I'm playing as the character with stealth and I stealth, you know? Like, I like picking an off angle when I'm stealthing. That's not exciting. That's just like any game that's released in the last 10 years. You know what I mean? And then almost on the opposite side of the Tarkov community, right? You've got the Destiny community who are probably going to be a lot less skilled at this kind of game than the Tarkov community. They kind of need to know, like, are they going to be getting absolutely clapped the entire time? Like, what's the plan for like aim assist type stuff? What's the plan for skill-based matchmaking? Right? Is there going to be a ranked playlist? Turns out there is a ranked playlist, which I discovered in the interview because I asked a question about it. But again, it was like, wouldn't that have been good to surface during the reveal? Like even a sentence or like even just some visuals of something to kind of help convey that information. And so I'm sort of left being like, well, I don't really know what the experience is going to be like if I'm not the best at the game. Like, am I just going to have to borrow loot from my friends all the time? Because there's loot borrowing as well, which also wasn't mentioned during the reveal stream. Like,
it was mentioned in interviews.
None of those things were there. That's another thing that I felt was weird.
Mentioned.
Was like, it was sort of assuming you both did and didn't know what extraction shooters were like. Like, there were parts of it where they were sort of over-explaining how an extraction shooter normally behaves, but then there were other...
Dude, that's so true. It was very just like surface level informational bits. You know what I mean? Just like an extraction shooter where you go in with your gear and if you die, you lose it all. It's like, no shit.
Other things where I, as someone that's only played like DMZ, basically, I had a lot less familiarity. And so I was sort of sitting there going, hold on, like, what is the kind of flow going to be in terms of if I've got no loot and I do a faction-sponsored run, like, what does that mean, right? They were sort of assuming I had that knowledge, so I would assumedly have played Tarkov and have scavved before in Tarkov, and they would know that by faction-sponsored, they meant sort of scavving, but then at the same time, they needed to explain, like, you have extraction beacons. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, it's a question, I think, of not really having a clear picture of who the target audience were for that stream. So there's the Tarkov folks over there, the Destiny folks over there, and then there's me with COD zombies and Easter eggs and stuff like that, right? And this ARG really spoke to me, so I was like, oh, maybe that means the game is going to have some stuff for me in it, right? And similarly, with the PvE Destiny people that like raids and like puzzles in raids, they're also sort of kindred spirit to mine, and so they might also be interested in that sort of stuff, right? So one of the questions I asked after the reveal stream to the dev was like, are there Easter eggs in the maps? Like, what's the deal with the ARG? Are there going to be more ARGs? And basically, his response was to say that the maps are aspirational, which seems to mean that there's basically stuff you can do in the map if you know how to do it, and you can aspire to then do stuff with that information. So like, maybe I know how to unlock a key card on a certain door and get into a certain area, and then the aspiration might be like to take down a certain boss in there and get some cool loot. Something like that. So that appears to be the puzzly type stuff that they're putting in. But even this, I'm in a weird position with right now, and this is coming from the perspective of someone that just loves puzzles in general. Because on the one hand, I'm like, okay, puzzles, sick. On the other hand, I'm like, is it going to be really annoying to try and do puzzle stuff while I'm getting shot in the back by other players? It's probably going to be pretty annoying. And the Bungie devs' reaction to sort of this particular topic was basically saying, like, we thought about it and we felt that it would be the most fun having another player there as sort of pressure, right? And I can totally see that. And from DMZ, there were moments where that was true. But with Bungie puzzle solving, I feel like if there's actual complexity to the puzzles, that's going to mean that I'm going to want players there less. And if they're really simple puzzles, then it's not going to feel like actual puzzles. It's just going to feel like sort of steps that I'm going to have to memorize to do random stuff, which I could otherwise have gotten from some other easier means in any other game without having to like jump through hoops, you know? So it's another one where I'm a little bit like, you're saying you're doing puzzles, but you're not showing me anything to really excite me about puzzles. You're sort of saying like it has to stay a secret, otherwise like it wouldn't be a secret anymore. But that's not helping excite me. Do you know what I mean? So I have to kind of have blind faith that there is something for me.
I will sit in a bush and then wait for them to solve the puzzle and then kill them. GG's. Yeah, if the puzzle's even complicated, guys, we don't even know if the puzzles is complicated. It may literally just be like, you know, it could be like the equivalent of like doing a lost sector in Destiny. And like, once you've done one, you've done them all. You know what I'm coming from on this, guys? We hope there's going to be, we've been told raid-like mechanics. All right. People are like, oh, raid-like mechanics. Wonder what that's going to be. Dude, it could be something as simple as you stand on a plate. There you go. That's a mechanic. Welcome to Marathon.
In this game, and that's not a great way to sell copies of a game, you know? The ARG was amazing, but a lot of the time, these ARGs, just as an example, a lot of the time, they're actually designed by like external studios, right? Like Call of Duty doesn't make all of its ARGs. They have a studio that will come in and do it for them, like an agency will do it for them, right? And so let's say that was the case with this. And I was like loving the ARG and it was great. Would I then be able to map my experience with the ARG puzzles to the game? Hell no, right? So it wouldn't make sense for me to just blindly assume that they'll be there when we have no evidence of suggesting that. Now, it's early days. It's early days. They've just revealed gameplay. Much of this might change. But still, I'm a little bit right now, like, I feel like if the puzzles are, okay, I can, like, activate a radio signal here to open a door, and then, like, after 60 seconds, the door closes or something, I'm just going to sort of be like, meh, you know? And that's, again, another one of those things where I'm like, what's the hook? Like, if the hook was PvPvE, but the PvE element of it is extremely in-depth, and they're really leaning into that in a massive way, and here's an example, hell yeah. But we didn't get any example of that today, and not only that, we didn't really even get tease of an example of that today. It just felt like it wasn't there. So I said I wanted this to be constructive, right? I said I wanted to try and make sure that there was stuff in this video that Bungie could take, internalize, and then respond to, basically, not directly to me, but just respond to with their overall approach and strategy over the coming months, right? I know much of that is already going to be set in stone, but if I can even make a 1% difference here or there, then I will sleep easy knowing that I've contributed, right? In the same way that during the reveal stream build-up, I noticed with my chat that they were only streaming at 4K bitrate, and we contacted Bungie and we got them to up the bitrate to 6K bitrate instead of 4. So the stream was 50% less crunched than it would have been because we managed to kind of get that information to them, right? And that's what I'm trying to do here as well. I'm just trying to take away some crunch. So first of all, I would say that you had a tough job, right? With the reveal stream of having to both inform people and excite people at the same time. And exciting people usually is going to be fast and it's going to be crazy and it's going to be flashy, whereas informing them is going to be a bit more tempered and it's going to be slower and it's going to be gradual, right? And I totally respect those are two different directions that are hard to bring together. But from this point on, you no longer have that issue, right? From this point on, you need to make sure that all of your comms are laser focused on the things that the extraction community are going to care about, and then the things that the non-extraction shooter communities are going to care about that you still want to target because you feel that there is still a part of the game that speaks to them, right? And you need to laser in on them. So for the puzzle people, we need something. I'm sorry, but like, I get you want it all to be a surprise, but if it's all a surprise, that means you're not going to market it until launch, which is fine, but that means that you're not going to get any sales from those people until after launch. If that's the bed you want to lay in, that's totally fine. Maybe that's their overall goal here, right? But there needs to be some...
Didn't really work out well for D1 and Vaulted Glass. I'm just letting y'all know, man. I'm not saying maybe it was teased. I don't remember being teased. Vaulted Glass kind of just dropped out of nowhere. I have friends that quit Destiny right after the campaign. Didn't even know we were going to be getting... And then it was like, oh my God, we got a raid. You know what I mean?
Ability for them to kind of talk...
It did. Back then was really strange though. 2014, it was really such a strange time. I didn't watch YouTube videos back then for video games. I didn't watch reveal streams. I didn't even know people stream. No. Get this. 2014, I didn't even know people streamed. But people obviously were streaming. You know what I'm coming from? I had no idea. I don't even know if I read a blog post. I don't even, you know what I'm saying?
Talk about the puzzly stuff, right? Without kind of doing the whole, well, it's a puzzle. So like that's on the puzzle side. Then with the extraction shooter people, I think that it's going to be really important to showcase things that that community care about, like anti-cheat, in detail, and really articulate why you think you've got it better than everyone else, right? And I think a weird place to take some good pointers from for this would be some of the marketing that COD has done for Warzone over the years, because in certain areas, not always, sometimes the COD marketing is rough at best, but sometimes they really nail it where they're like, we know people really care about anti-cheat at this time. Like in like maybe 2022 or something, there was like this big moment where they were revealing more new anti-cheat stuff. I think it was maybe like the reveal of Ricochet, maybe for the first time ever, something like that. And the way they spoke to the community and were like, we know how much it sucks to get slapped about by hackers in the game. So we're doing A, B, C, D, E, F, G. We're going to be putting this and this and this all behind sorting this problem out. Like, those sorts of things really need to be spoken to.
It's such a tough thing because if they did that for Marathon, every Destiny player would have been raging in the chat like, whoa, where's that for us?
Really clearly, I think. And while you're doing those things on the periphery, right? Because none of those are going to be like your central marketing. Obviously, you're not going to lead to the masses with like, we've got anti-cheat, and then the masses are like, what's anti-cheat, right? Because they're normies. So those are on the periphery. In the center, I really want you to just be able to define why this is a better extraction shooter than any other one on the market. What is that? And if you can convey that to me, I can be excited.
And it can't be because it's Bungie magic. Or it's going to be a lot of humble pie, baby. It's going to be everybody going to be eating humble pie. It can't be because we possess that magic. It just, when I hear that, that's the canary in the mine. You know what I'm saying? That's the canary right there that screams, oh shit.
But if you can't get that across the desk, it's always going to be a 6 or a 7 out of 10. It's never going to get any further. It's just going to be another one. And I don't think Bungie operates in another ones. Bungie operates in uniques. Bungie operates in spectacular. And right now, it's undefined. Then when you've got that thing figured out, I think you need to be really, really confident in being able to show like high level stuff, sort of like you did with the creator stuff today, but in such a way that leverages whatever the special source is and really like amplifies it tenfold, right? Because we saw creator gameplay today, but I didn't feel like the creator gameplay made me go, whoa, therefore this looks infinitely better than everything else.
That's such a great point. And it's not to say that Lupo didn't do a good job or Scaro didn't do a good job, right? The question we have is, what's it look like for a player to invest hundreds of hours into this game? You know? And
so if you think that the most special part of the game is the puzzle stuff, for instance, right? Then like the creator gameplay should have people having their minds blown. Like we need to see people's minds being blown so that we can then at home be like, wait, if they're having their minds blown like that, imagine all the other ways I could have my mind blown, right? I currently don't feel like I really had any of that sense of, ooh, if I was in their shoes, I would feel X today. Like I saw Dr. Lupo jumping around with that jet jump on, I think, Locust and shotgunning people. And that looked fun. Don't get me wrong, it looked fun. But there was no element of that I saw that I was like, this is something I have to do now, right? Or this is something that I can do in no other video game. And it's that's
a great point.
I have to do it now, and I can do this in no...
Look, we're not hating. What he's simply just trying to say is that how is this extraction shooter setting itself apart outside of it being a sci-fi game and an extraction shooter? You know what I'm coming from?
Other video game that will get pre-orders, right? So I really hope
I'm just hate farming right now. There you go. That's it, chat. That's all I'm doing.
As much as I want you guys to continue to humanize the studio and the devs, and I do think that's wonderful, and I think Bungie's heart is completely in the right place, I think that it's worth just being a little bit more ruthless with when you say, okay, this is going to have to be a shorter overall reveal stream and therefore be much tighter versus one which feels like people are kind of waiting for the devs to stop talking so they can see gameplay again. And that means then that because we won't be getting a lot of the sort of dev humanization stuff in those moments where we just want like the hard and fast gameplay or whatever, we'll have a lot more patience and interest for the dev stuff, I think, in the other moments where that makes more appropriate sense. Because we'll be like, oh, sick, okay, this feels like this is its place. Right? Whereas it just didn't feel like it was its place so much today, in my opinion. I also think, and this is going to be maybe controversial, but I think it might be worth doing a beta after the alpha,
they
so
announced
that
this.
people can get a
I'm pretty sure they announced that they're going to do the open beta.
Taste of the game for free, just a short one, maybe like a 3-day beta or something, because that might then help bridge the gap to it being a paid title where you get the benefit of the virality of free to play. Everybody can get in on the beta. Everybody can get a little taste. But then the upsell basically is, okay, and now for the full game with more maps, more content, this, that, and the other, you need to pay us the $40, right? And I can't really think of another way to help negate that problem without doing basically an open beta of some capacity. So I think I'm going to encourage them to do that too. I know there's already been rumor of it, so I'm sure it's being considered, but I would just sort of encourage that on my side of things as well. I think that would be a helpful marketing vehicle for the game. So I've been critical in this video, right? But it's the sort of stuff that if I wasn't doing it, I wouldn't be being honest with you guys about my thoughts on stuff. So it's important to me to be honest. But it's also important to me to try and get that across as constructively, like I said, as possible. So I really hope that it's come across that way.
I think so.
I want to be
But Milo is not. By the way, guys, I would say, you know, there are certain people that when they give feedback, they're just so rage-inducing. But nothing about what Milo's saying right now. He's not rage baiting. He's literally just giving good, constructive feedback. And it's great feedback. And I hope Bungie listens.
Abundantly clear that I'm not saying this and being like, and therefore I'm not interested in the game, right? I'm extremely interested in the game right now. And there's so much promise just from the ARG even alone. And from the experience that I've had with Bungie and with Destiny that I just adore their approach to making games that has really already sold me on it personally as a purchase I will be making. But I do feel like it's got a little ways to go to find its way right now. And I want to see that happen. I really want to see that happen because I would love for this game to be another 10-year amazing extravaganza, just like Destiny has been. But from the press interviews that I've read, that have all sort of said it feels like it's missing something. I will be following this very closely over the next several months as we approach launch with both the alpha and then if there is a beta and everything in between. So stay subscribed and I will continue to kind of dig as much as I can and try to get to the bottom of the marathon mystery. So thanks for watching, folks. I will see you.
Great video, Milo. What a wonderful video. Honestly, I couldn't say it any better. Milo literally took my, I mean, he's in my brain. He's in my brain and he put it together so well, so poetically well. This is how I felt. I felt like the lead up in marketing was fantastic. I felt the cinematic was great and the cinematic was definitely the highlight. I think that maybe either the production team or whoever at Bungie probably needs to sit down and be like, all right, they want details, they want information. And perhaps save the questions like Joe Ziegler and Andrew, what are your favorite runners? Maybe that question could be saved post VIDOC. So have the VIDOC come out, right? It doesn't have to be live. It could be pre-recorded and it'd be like information, maps. Here's the map. Here's your different runners. Here's the little abilities. Here's this attachment, that attachment. You know what I mean? And then at the end, there could be an interview section where you do have that one-on-one with the developers there. We'll see what ends up happening. But he is right. The intention for the next, whatever stream, if Bungie does a stream again, needs to be like, what is the reason to give this extraction shooter a try over others? What's the hook here? I actually don't even think there's going to be a stream from now until launch. Yeah, we're done talking about Marathon. We are moving on. We'll be playing Destiny throughout this week. We'll be gearing up for Borderlands as well. What I will say, I'm going to have a very tough decision come September. And I may have to put Marathon. I mean, we'll just have to see, man. Because like Borderlands is rolling out the same day. Bungie has picked the same date to drop Marathon with Borderlands. And I think so many Destiny players are going to be picking up Borderlands.
Slap that like button like your mama told you right.